Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody. Hello, how's everybody? Just give me a thumbs up that you can see us. You can, yeah. Thank you, Renska. Good morning to you too. Hope it's nice and warm in Cape Town. It's very cold up in Joburg. Okay, everybody can hear me. All right. I just want to check, Tholo, are you here with us? Are you in? He was having some problems this morning. Okay, I see he's there now. Great stuff. Thank you, everybody, for joining us again for our third webinar in our Shaping Tomorrow Together series that we're having. Our guest speaker today is Tholo Motaung, and he is a director of OPSA. He is a charismatic host at our annual conferences. If anybody's had been to our conferences, you will remember our charismatic host that we have that keeps you all going, keeps the conversation going. He is a conference moderator, a master of ceremonies, a speaker and facilitator. With expertise in driving organizational growth and high performance culture, Tholo's passion lies in empowering people and organizations. He's a behavioral science graduate and corporate governance scholar, and he has served in various leadership and management roles, contributing significantly to higher education and governance boards. He's also a multimedia personality. He hosts Morning in Travel on Opulence Radio and the Real Queer Talk on YouTube, platforms through which Tholo inspires and educates others. So thank you for joining us, Tholo. I'm going to hand over to you now, as I know that time is precious for all the ladies and gents that have joined us. So over to you, Tholo. Okay, let's just see what's happening. Yeah. He has got access. Tholo, can you, I see you should be able to unmute yourself. Okay, guys, if you can just give us a second to see what's happening here. Sorry, we're just having a few hiccups. I'm just trying to get it sorted out. Do you just give us a few moments? Tholo, I see you back in with us. Okay, are you able to come in?
Dee, can you hear me? Don, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Tholo.
Okay. I'm not sure now about the camera.
Uh, I'm, try- I'm trying. I've given you access. Let me see if again. Yeah, just let me.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, everybody can hear you.
Okay.
The camera. You should be able to use a camera. I have given it to access it to you.
Okay.
Camera.
All right. There we are.
There you go.
Yeah, but also please give me access to share the presentation, to share the
Okay.
screen actually.
Okay, just
Good day, colleagues. Sincere apologies for this delay, but let me thank you once again, as John has welcomed you, for making time to join us. We trust that it is going to be of value to you today, as well as we're going to be looking at the future in terms of how do we better prepare ourselves for the future. As we see, there are so many changes that has happened, particularly since COVID-19 hit us in the world of work. Dee, are we winning from your side?
I'm just trying now to change your role.
Okay. Okay, colleagues, I think in the meantime, if there's anything significant that you'd like to share since COVID-19, has hit us, to say, in your world of work, what is that thing that you feel tremendously changed, totally, whether it's in a form of finding that you had to adjust how you do things, or it was for the best because some of the things turned out to be good things that we needed, and some of the things, unfortunately, were not so good things. If anyone has something to share with us, I think in the meantime, could you please join in to share?
Oh. Tholo, because it's a webinar, they are automatically muted.
Okay.
I don't know if somebody wants to try there to see if they can actually ask a question or just say hello.
Okay, yes, we can use the chat box to have the
Yeah,
conversation
otherwise it would be the
whilst
chat box.
we're still navigating the. Or Dee, can I email you the presentation? Maybe then you can project from your side so we save time.
I've just made you a presenter. You should be able to share.
Okay. There we are. There we go. There we go.
Can you share? There you go.
Okay.
Thank you, Copilot.
Okay. Okay. Colleagues, once again, a warm welcome to this webinar. Today, we're looking at how do we prepare ourselves for the future and the changes that are happening, in the profession as we grow in the profession. And some of us, I know, because of the circumstances or because of where we are, we feel that this is the profession that we use as a stepping stone to something else different. But for others, it is a profession that we're passionate about, that we want to grow, and we want to see ourselves, climbing that ladder in the future. So that's why it is important that we talk about how then do we ensure that we are well prepared for the future. And also in doing so, we have to be proactive about it and ensure that we adapt, with the trends that are happening in the industry. As Don has introduced me, I am Tholo Motaung. And of course, if you have questions, you can put them in the chat box. So I can then attend to them along the way. So before we start, I'd like us to quickly watch this short video.
Was that a pivotal historical moment we just went stumbling past? I hear that's all our friends. Even when I'm weak and I'm breaking, I start weeping at the train station, 'cause I can see your faces. There is so much peace to be found in people's faces. I love people's faces.
So I love playing this video because it takes us back to a time in 2020 when we were in a space not any of us knew what the future would look like. But that was the time when, a change started, a change that brought new beginnings in everything that we are doing today and that we'll be doing in the future. And as I said, I was wondering earlier, how was your life impacted by, the pandemic in 2019? For others, it was in a positive way. For others, it was in a negative way. For others, it was just a period that they had to survive and go through. And that's why it's important that, we take stock of how things change, because at that time, there was a lot of uncertainty. None of us knew how things will turn out. But also, we were in a space of fear because as we were unsure of how things can turn out, people were losing lives. People were getting sick every day. And we were not sure if we're still going to have work. And if we're still going to have work, what is it going to look like? But of course, it was the beginning of a new era that then challenged us to pay attention to the change. And we know that change is uncomfortable. It's something that we are not always open to. So a new normal came to life. Economical effects were seen in many ways where people lost their jobs, other jobs were adjusted, and that meant prices went up on certain things they went down. But we had to tighten our belts because many companies closed down. So economical effects were really dire. And of course, the work environment was disrupted because now we were no longer doing things the same. We now got to be open to the possibility of working remotely. We got to understand that we don't have to be in the same space. Other companies closed offices. They worked totally remotely, but in all of that, we were required, to be agile because we needed to keep going. We needed to stay competitive, and it required a lot of resilience that despite the circumstances we find ourselves in, we need to dig deep inside to find a way to keep going so that we have a clearer path as we go forward in finding the new normal, in making, the new normal a possibility for the future even. But beyond anything else, we find ourselves in a space where we live in a competitive edge because now technology has taken over, because there's the new generation that comes in the job market with a different mindset. So all of these created a new normal, which we are surviving in today. But we then ask the question to say, how are we then able to move forward, and how can we prepare ourselves for the future? So in preparing for the future, there's the significant trends and transformation that are actually reshaping the world of work. And it's not only here in South Africa, it's not only in the African continent, but it is worldwide. And we are very much aware of that, because one other aspect is the fact that we now are competing at a global stage. Some organizations are global, they are multinational organizations. Some are only here in South Africa, but that does not stop us to the reality that now we are actually, participating on a global stage. And we saw also the rise of remote work, that actually the impact of it was that as we work remotely, then we had to introduce automation, right? Especially in functions that are actually of routine nature, but also the introduction of artificial intelligence, which some of us are not taking advantage of. Some of us have many questions about it, to say, can we really get ourselves in a space where we are embracing it, that we actually use it the best way, that it can work for us to be more productive and be more efficient in our work environment, right? But driving these significant changes is how our work is structured, because then the structure of work changed. It was no longer how we used to do things. It was a matter of how now things need to be done, and how things will need to be done in the future, and also our performance as well, the nature of how we perform our work, and how the work is also perceived. So I think as I'm moving along, you can see how we have started to move in a direction where we are actually forced to say, what is the future of work like, right? And really, it is characterized by flexibility, that we can no longer be rigid in how we work. We always have to adapt to the changes that are necessary, and also to the changes that come. And these changes can be brought by a lot of things. It can be introduction of new technology. It can be introduction of a way of doing business. And recently, we've seen how there has been a fight between United States of America and China, and how China retaliated in exposing some of the trades that the USA brands were actually getting involved into. Now, the big question is, how are they going to manage reputation in that? So it requires flexibility, because we know, and now we know, that things can change at any point, at any time, and they can be influenced by anything, whether it's the weather, whether it's the politics, it can really be anything. So that then challenges us to continuously learn. And learning continuously is one of the things that now we have to take as second nature. It should be something that we are always prepared to do. And also, the focus on technology and sustainability, because technology has taken over. We know the COVID period actually, made the fourth industrial revolution to actually go faster than we had expected. So we had to embrace it as well. But more than anything is, how then do we sustain our jobs? How then do we sustain our organizations that we work in? Because we want longevity. We don't want to be here today and tomorrow we are gone. So those are the dynamics or the characteristics of the future of work. All right. So then the key principles that are really underpinning the future of work is that of a technological advancement, which we are all aware of, right? And in technological advancement, we are actually challenged now to get into a space of being inquisitive about technology, being aware of what technology is being introduced in the job market from time to time. And technology is really growing at a fast pace, it's advancing at a fast pace. And those are some of the challenges that we also have to be aware of, but try by all means necessary to familiarize ourselves with the new technology that comes into the workspace so we can be able to function, at a rate that we are expected to. So on the other side, we have what is called gig economy and freelancing. And we've seen how now other people had to get into a space of saying, as we lose what is called formal work, where now you're employed, then you had to look for opportunities where you freelance or you work on a contract basis. And we know we've got virtual assistants, we've got consultants and others in the industry, which is another space that we can venture into in the future. For other people, it could be that you are going on pension soon and that you are planning to say, okay, I don't want to just sit at home. What is it that I can do? You can do a virtual assistant, but also if you're working and you're looking for third stream or second stream income, these are the kind of things that you can consider. And the question is, are companies at some point going to think of rather having virtual assistants than having office professionals on full-time basis in the organization? These are possibilities that can be there that we have to also take into consideration. But then also there's an issue of skills development and lifelong learning, right? So because many jobs are evolving quickly, it is important that we make sure that we've got the right skills, we've got the right knowledge for us to stay productive in the spaces that we work in, and that we also stay relevant in the work that we do. So the growing emphasis here is that we continue to learn, we continue to upskill ourselves. We can never be at a point where we feel that we know everything. We can never be at a point where we feel that we are well-rounded, but we should always push to stretch ourselves, to know better, to do better, and also to engage better. Because when we do that, it's not only making us uncomfortable in that we know everything, but it helps us to stretch, to grow better, and to be more competitive as employees. All right. So globalization and outsourcing, these are some of the issues that organizations are actually exploring. That advancement in communication and transportation are some of the examples that have actually been happening in various organizations. Other organizations have outsourced their services, and it has actually become a common practice to them. So then it is a matter of how do you then fit in that environment, right? So that's why it's important that we upskill, because then we better our knowledge, we better our skills, and it becomes easier for us to adjust when organizations now start playing at a global stage. They start outsourcing some of the services. Then you can adjust in the environment that is changing in that way. And now the workplace culture and well-being, it is also affected. But most importantly, it's the fact that we have to now be more aware of our well-being in the workplace, because now, especially there's been a research that has proven that people that work from home actually work longer hours than when they work at the office. So for those people that work remotely, you may find that you're actually working way more than if you are in the office. That then says you should bring the balance between your well-being and the work. So work-life balance, you should try to make it happen. And I know it's not always easy, it's not simple, but it's something that you have to try. I hope it makes sense. And if I can see by thumbs there, particularly for those people that actually working from home, if what I'm saying makes sense, because now you don't have to deal with traffic, you don't have to deal with disruptions in the office in terms of people that can come in requesting a meeting and all of that. So you are very much focused on the work that you do. All right. Let's move on to the next one. Okay. So 2025 Future of Jobs report, this was provided by the World Economic Forum in Davos. Actually, they released that there are certain jobs that in the next 5 years will actually not be there or will not make sense. But according to Davina Rajgopal, she said, according to the report, other jobs that are declining in demand includes jobs such as apologies for that, the security guards, data entry clerks, as well as administrative assistants and executive secretaries, right? And when you see this, and this was published on the 22nd of January in 2025, once you see things like this, then the first question that comes to mind is, our career, is it becoming obsolete? Does it mean that we will no longer be needed? And this is a question that has been coming up a lot in some of the conferences that I've presented in, and when I do the business administration masterclass, and it is a relevant question, particularly looking at how now artificial intelligence is actually taking over in the world of work, and also how the new generation that is in the job market is also taking over as leaders, as managers, and they have a different way of managing and operating, right? So the answer is actually no. And the reason we're saying it's no, it's because, yes, technology evolves and industries, they actually change to adapt to the new changes, right? But as that happens, it doesn't mean that the operations or the services that are provided by office professionals will not be necessary. And I usually ask a simple question to say, particularly for executive assistants or personal assistants, to say, as much as technology is there and it's effective, look at your current situation now and how busy your boss is. Can they manage their diary the way you do? And I'm posing that question to you as well. I'd like to see in the chat, how you feel, looking at how technology has advanced and how your managers are busy, and that they can actually use technology, and they are using technology for other functions, of course. Do you believe that they can manage their diary the way you are managing it if you were not there and they're only using technology? Right? Let me know in the chat section. I'd like to hear what your thoughts are. Right. So the skills that are needed for employees to succeed in the workforce are also changing rapidly because things are changing. So that's what we need to be aware of. But as those changes, they change because of the requirements of the business, right? And as the requirements of the business change, the functions are actually also supported by human beings behind. Yes, we can adopt a lot of technology and use, AI and all of that, but you still need a human being behind. You still need a person that will coordinate things. You still need a person that will be the center to everything that is happening. Because when you look at office professionals, they are literally at the center of the organization for anything that comes in and anything that goes out. And I usually say they are like a heart, because it is that important organ of the body, but because it's hidden, you don't really pay much attention to it until something happens and it stops. Then that's when you say, okay, now I need to pay attention. It's the same thing with administrative professionals in various organizations, right? So then it means that also investing in upskilling and reskilling programs will also, do us a great favor, in that it will keep us, relevant, and also that it will keep us needed and in the different spaces that we are operating in. I hope we're still together. Can I see thumbs up there that we're still together?
Now I have allowed the mics. If they want to ask a question, I have allowed the mics, because I see there are people who want to ask questions. Okay. All right. Just please raise your hand if you want to make a comment or ask a question. I don't mind to stop quickly to take your question. Joey, thank you. Thank you for those sharps. All right. So now we find ourselves in a situation where in the new world of work, we have to deal with new trends and also the challenges that comes up. And we find words like agile, right?
we find words like disruptive, innovative, artificial intelligence, right? And agility, basically, questioning us to say, can we be able to stand, forward with the changes that are happening? Disruptive, basically asking us to say, can we be able to bring positive changes in a work environment that will set new standards, that will set new ways of doing things, that will keep us, competitive in doing what we do. And in this context, we can think of it as an organization, but also think of it as individuals that are working as office professionals. To say, in your role, are you able to be disruptive in challenging the policies that are no longer working? To say, to the managers, we need to pay attention to this and change it, because you have to realize that now, as the world of work changes, we also have to be innovative in how we are solving the problems, right? We have to come up with new ways and different ways that are more effective, that are cost effective, even to make sure that we bring the changes that are necessary. But also there's artificial intelligence that now we talk about a lot. And these are, technical apps, for example, that helps us to function better, to also automate part of the work that we do, and many other things that helps us to be more productive. Okay, so we have to adapt to these trends. We have to know what they mean. We have to be able to apply them and practice according to them. But also the challenges that comes, that we use them to help us to do that. And for us to be able to do all of that and be able to be prepared for the future world of work, we have to be able to be adaptable, right? So adaptability is very much essential, right? Because as things change, we have to be able to change with the times. So we can no longer be comfortable with the fact that we were using requisitions that are written on the book. We have to be able to know now that we can move requisitions from paper to paperless, and making sure that our company is actually safe from that. I always say that as office professionals, we have the power to influence, and you need to use that power in a positive way by bringing solutions. So meaning that you can lead from the back. It's not only that leaders will be the ones that can be able to lead, but you can also be able to lead from the back. Some of the skills that we need, it's data storytelling. So with this, what it means is that we have to be able to collect data. We have to be able to interpret data, because when we do that in our different organizations, that helps us to make decisions, that helps us to solve problems, that helps us to give input and positive inputs in those spaces that we work in. Of course, artificial intelligence literacy, spoken about this, and Dawn spoke about this also, in the previous webinar, that it's very important that we understand, how AI works and how it can help us. And other people are still holding back, thinking that, no, now you can't think, now it can get you into trouble. Of course, when you look at it in a positive way and you take it as a tool to assist you to function, it will help you to be productive in a very big way. But of course, there are other legal issues that we have to take into consideration, things like how much information and what kind of information do you share with AI, and how much of that information can be exposed out there. So those are the things that we have to think about. And also, so that is risk, and also issues of ethics, when using AI, you have to make sure that, you keep at the back of your mind, and that you don't find yourself compromising the organization, because also you'll be compromising your integrity as a professional. And then emotional intelligence. This is very much important, because for us to be able to build meaningful relationships, we have to make sure that we are able to manage our emotions, but also we able to also manage emotions of others that we work with in a positive way, that we build a rapport, we build meaningful working relationships that will be productive for us as we work in various spaces. Because no man is an island. We all know that. So it's very important that when we create relationships, we build healthy working relationships, and that's why emotional intelligence is important. And we can take it for granted that everybody has emotional intelligence, but the reality is not everybody has, and that's why we even have courses about emotional intelligence where we really, drill down on the issues of emotional intelligence, because it's something that you can learn and be able to grow. All right, then moving to grit, learning agility, and also good judgment. And grit is really about perseverance and passion, that despite the circumstances that you may find yourself in, because sometimes we work in organizations where you find that really they get to be toxic, and as they get to be toxic, they affect how we work, and that's why then you need to be able to persevere, because now you have to remember the passion that you have for the work that you do, and what is it that is fulfilling in the work that you do, and that will keep you having the grit that you need to keep going. All right. Learning agility, basically that we are able to, learn new things and relearn new things, even if it's the old things that we need to learn differently, that we open ourselves to that, because it helps us to adjust where it's necessary. But also more than anything, that we are able to make good judgment, right? Good reasoning, wisdom that is necessary for us to be able to make sense of the work or the environment that we are in. And also upskilling and reskilling. This is very, very, very important, right? Because as we upskill, we actually, are bettering ourselves for us to be able to be more competent, and that we can be able to be flexible and adjust to a new way of doing things. But also, reskilling that, help us to reinforce the kind of skills that are necessary, or to learn new skills. From upskilling, you'll be learning new things, and reskilling that you reinforce the skills that you have. These are two aspects that are also very much important, and this, I promise you, will move you from a space of that you can be found absolute, but rather being in demand. Here's another video that I'd like us to watch.
Things are going to look so different in the next couple years. Unless you are radical with your thinking, you will not be ready for the disruptions that are going to come.
I'm super excited to be talking to Ian Beecraft.
Who do you see as being the winners and losers of this disruption?
Junior roles are already starting to disappear. Middle management is also getting hit really hard. What that makes space for is for people to step into actual roles of leadership.
I can imagine a world where there's angst.
It's going to be hard. If we're not looking forward and we're still letting yesterday's mental models collide with tomorrow's technologies, that is how we lose. We are all pioneers right now, whether we want to be or not. As a super resilient species, we still make a way forward. When everything is changing around you, think radically, approach practically.
So that is, the reality of how
things are going to look so different,
and particularly changing because of technology that impacts us. That, as much as things are changing, but we also have to make sure that we adapt for us to be able to function in a way that will help us to be productive and actually positively be able to contribute. So Don says AI is here to stay. By learning as much as you can now puts you ahead in the game, because then you become the AI champion in your organization. And that is so much true, because it is, as I said earlier, the tool that we need for us to do better. So one of the things that are very much important that I'd really want to encourage you to take into consideration is you becoming a high performer as you prepare for the future. So you need to really start practicing to be a high performer if you are not. And if you are, keep it going, make sure that you strengthen it and you grow it. And what do we mean when we say a person should be a high performer to be better prepared for the future world of work? A high performer is basically that you're a superstar employee, basically that you are skilled at what you are doing, and you demonstrate exceptional effort. And emphasis on exceptional, because exceptional means that you don't just do what it is just expected of you, but you go beyond the call of duty, and that you allow yourself to be adaptable to different situations, but making sure you always deliver what is expected of you. So a high performer is somebody that will be proactive in their approach of work, and they're also eager to take a new project that will actually challenge them, whether they have the skill to do it or they don't have the skill to do it, but they are open to those kind of challenges because they also help them to grow, but also to prove their ability, to do better than what is expected of them. And they're constantly seeking feedback, because if you're not a high performer, when you're given feedback, you'll take it in a negative way. But if you're a high performer, when you're given feedback, for you, it helps you to take stock of how you operate, how you do things, and how you can improve on doing those things. And also actively and continuously improving and growing, your skills to stay there. So here it's just to show you that as a high performer, there are two things for you that makes you a high performer. So on your left, it is performance, and at the bottom, it is an effort. So these two have to go together. So on your bottom left, the underperformer is somebody that has low performance and low effort. So obviously, if you don't put much effort, your performance will also be low. Then on your bottom right, you have a potential gem. So this is somebody that has low performance but high effort. It is somebody that would want to do better. So they have the potential to be a high performer. And then top left, you have an expert, right? So an expert is somebody that their performance is really high, but their effort is low. So basically, that if they have to perform a task, they're able to do that task. But for them, is they do it as it's expected. They don't go beyond what can be required in terms of what are looking at, for example, other solutions, looking at other things that can actually enhance the work that they are doing. Then you have the superstar, who is the high performer. This is somebody then that not only performs highly, but they also put an effort in. So they are not always satisfied with the best. They always want the greatest, to say, okay, for example, we've been, providing this report at this standard every year, but maybe we need to put on statistics, for example. Maybe we need to put on pictures, because if we do that, then it will enhance the understanding of the reader. So that is the way the superstar will actually think. So that's where we want to be. That's where we want to be, those superstar, right? So let's look a little bit of what differentiates an average performer and a high performer. Right? So the high performers, they have no problem setting goals, because for them is when they set goals, they work on something that is structured. They know what they're working towards, but and they're able to set smart goals for that matter, because that it helps them to know exactly what is it that they're working towards, and also to say, can I be able to measure, the goal that I'm able to, and be able to be that it's a goal that is attainable. And also that there is a timeline for me to be able to achieve that, right? So they judge slaves by achievement of goals, right? So basically that for them, they judge themselves by achieving those goals, and are always willing to improve their performance, right? But the average performers, they lack the knowledge to accomplish goals, right? So they don't set goals, they just operate as and when it's necessary. And these are the people that generally will go in the office because they have to go and do their thing and go home, right? I always say these are people that will tell you that, look, that is not part of my job. That is not the work that is in my job description. And I'll just do the little bit that I have to do, and they leave. And these are the people that really, even when you look at the parking lot, they park in reverse. They're ready to go at any moment. When they're there, they do what they have to do and they leave, right? So they lack support and useful feedback, because when you give them feedback, even if it's constructive feedback, they may take it in a negative way. And that's where we don't want to be, or we don't want to operate at. All right. So now the considerations when we're looking at high performance are that Average employees make up more than half of the typical workforce. What do we mean by that? Is that the 60% of the workforce is basically average workers. So here I'm basing it on the 20-60-20 percentage rule. So let me expand further to explain. So meaning that half of the remaining, which is 40%, we have 20 of the top performers and 20 of the poor performers. And unfortunately, the poor performers basically create apathy in the workplace. These are the people that can even influence others to not work. So they are dangerous people, basically, that we don't want to find ourselves around. Okay. So what are the traits of high performance that we can adopt? Firstly, it is that they are competent in the work that they do, right? So when you look at the sequence of competence here, when you look on top there, unconsciously not competent, really this is somebody that they honestly don't know that they don't know. That they're not even aware that they're not competent, right? And then you have consciously not competent. So this is somebody that is aware that they're not competent. And in being consciously not competent, it basically then that you then put an effort to say, okay, now I need to go for a course for me to be able to do this, or to go on YouTube, learn this new skill, or buy a magazine to learn about it for me to be able to do it. And then you have consciously competent. That's where then you move to a point where now you're able to see that here I'm consciously, so I'm able to perform the function or the task the way it needs to be done. Then the unconsciously competent is where we all want to be performing at. That is where now you do the work without even thinking too much about it, because you are able to do it in that way. And we're able to be there when we put an effort to be able to perform, or also that we have done it for so many years. But in doing it for so many years, that also we perform and put an effort. It's like driving a car. If you've driven a car for a long time, you no longer look at the gear. You no longer, when you change it, you are able to change it without looking at it. Here I'm talking about a manual, of course. So because then it comes naturally to you. You're able to do it naturally, and that's where we need to be at. That. How good are we at our jobs? Are we that competent? And also that you get to be reliable and honest. So basically that, is the person on time every day? It's simple things like that, because they matter, that, when a boss is not there, somebody is in the office taking care of things, right? Can I trust them to get the job done when I delegate a task to them? Because there are people like that, tasks are delegated to them. They're either delayed or they're not done, or the mediocre work is done. Respecting of authority, because they promise realistic goals, right? Do we respect authority in that sense that we're able to deliver what is expected? And also project an image of efficiency and reliability. So by doing this, especially as an office professional, because the whole office is literally dependent on you. So if you're able to be efficient and that people can rely on you, that proves of you as a high performer. All right. Passion and positivity. These are things that we need, that when we work, we able to have the can-do attitude that is necessary, right? Motivating ourselves and our colleague to boost the morale that is necessary, and also being able, to adapt to different situations as the work changes. Right. And also, but more than anything that is very much important is the ability to communicate, that we get to be assertive where it's necessary, that, we able to determine the difference between responding and reacting. Because when you react, you can react in a negative way. But when you respond, you're actually processing what is being said to you, and you then respond in an accurate manner, or in a manner that will make sure or show up how much of a professional you are, right? And also have active listening skills, because yes, listening, it is a skill, and many times we listen to respond, right? And then I'm seeing we're running out of time, but quickly, let's look at how then do we maintain this high performance brand that we are about. Because a brand is basically that, what is it that people say about your work when you're not there? What is it that people say about you when you're not there? That is the brand you. So that's something you have to take into consideration. So to have a high performing brand, you have to have a solution oriented mindset, that when problems come, how best do you solve them? That you look at that, right? You develop your own systems that will work for you to be able to function efficiently, right? You are proactive as well. You take risks that where it's necessary. Of course, they have to be informed and calculated risks that you take, right? And sometimes if we find ourselves working under pressure, how much of how much are you able to maintain your cool under that pressure? Because you'll find other people screaming at people, saying things that are not nice when they work under pressure, or they just leave the work when they have to perform them. How are you able to stay cool under pressure? And of course, personal development, that is a commitment that you have to have all the time, right? So then the skills that will set you apart, that are very important: good time management. And we take it for granted because this is something that we have to do on daily basis, but it matters a lot because it speaks to how reliable are you, how effective are you, active listening, as it helps you to engage better with your colleagues as well. Accountability to yourself, to not wait for somebody to call you out, but to actually take that initiative of saying, no, I should be doing this, no, I should not be doing this, right? Learning from your own mistakes. Sometimes we have to laugh at our mistakes. Sometimes we get so hard on ourselves that we forget that we are human beings, right? And we can make mistakes, and it's okay, but the most important thing is that you learn from it and you're able to move on, right? And when you set goals, set clear goals, because they help you to be able to function and to work towards them, and in a way that will motivate you to actually achieve them. And also remain highly engaged, basically that you communicate well, you do your work in a way that it is necessary. So most importantly, as we finalize, where do you operate from? Are you operating from a point or position of strength, or the position of weakness? Because many a times we spend so much time operating from a point of weakness. I want to be better at this. I want to improve this. And then your abilities are not seen. Your abilities are not experienced, and that's why then you'll be out of energy. So the position of weakness is that we'll then always work from a point of fear, point of anger, inferiority, or sense of inability, because really that is our weakness, right? And the outcome is that we'll overreact, we'll be irrational, defensive, and all of that, because we're not operating from a point where we have the strength, right? But when you operate then from a position of strength, is that we are able, to how we perceive and respond to life, as well as the myriad of experiences we bring them. So basically that, what is it that you're really good at? What is it that we can wake you up at 3 a.m. and you can be able to do it without thinking? And when you do operate from that point, it basically that, you become high performer, and your energy levels also, are risen because you're operating from where you can and are able to. So looking at energy and performance, bottom left, that's where if the energy is low, the performance is going to be low. Why? It's a performance liability. That's when you work from a point of weakness, because now you have to work double or much more for you to be able to do something, instead of saying, this is my weakness, therefore to be able to function, maybe I can, for example, request for assistance on this thing, or I know when I've done it this way, that's the best I can be able to, because you can't go beyond that as you'll want it to, the best way the person that works from a strength are able to do it, right? I'm not good at numbers. I cannot expect that I can work out the same task in 5 minutes as the person who has, who's good in numbers, because they are good at it. They can work 5 minutes, but because I'm not good, I can work 15, 10 minutes or 20 minutes. And I need to allow myself that. Otherwise, if I push too hard, that's when the energy is going to be low and the performance is going to be low as well. But moving from a point of strength, you'll find that your battery is always full, always charged, and that your energy levels will be high and your performance will also be high, and it will show. Right. So you have to believe and be realistic, and also use your intellect and your input in making sure that you exercise that. All right. So as we work, let's remember that we also need to look at these two things. The bottom part, it is where the codependence happens. So that's where now you work from a mode of I serve you, so you'll serve me. And on the left, you have the dependence, where you then want people to serve you. Basically, you serve me. On the right, it is independence, where it basically focuses on yourself. I serve me. But we should look at interdependence, where I serve us so we can serve others. So that in that way, you are able to be a high performer, because your understanding is that I'm here to contribute to the bigger vision of the organization. So I don't know where you're operating from, but look at those and really take time to think, are you in the independence, dependence, or codependence? Because if you are in any of those, you are working from the negative or the weakness point, and you need to pay attention to say, how do you move to a point of interdependence, where now you can even create better relationships with the colleagues that you work with. So the value of high performers, they're admired for their exceptional ability to contribute a specific role or benefit, right? So they go beyond what is expected, or they go beyond the call of duty, and they are worth more than they earn, right? Because they are able to perform really in any space. So they don't compete on the basis of price, but they compete on the basis of the goal that they serve, or rather that they set themselves. All right. So in conclusion, the future of work is basically that how do we get to be aware of the changes that are happening in the work world, and that we prepare ourselves in a sense that we adapt to the trends and the challenges that come, that we become high performers in our operation, and that we craft a high performance brand. And in doing all of this, we will always stay relevant, and we will always stay in demand, and we can adjust to any environment and be able to operate at the highest level. And that is all that I have for you today. I hope it has been of value to you, and all the best on everything. I don't know, Dawn, if we are still able to take questions, or we ran out of time completely.
Yes, and I know I always laugh. I always think I talk a lot until I listen to Tholo, and then I feel so much better, because we both always go over time. But there was a very interesting question, if we can do this very quickly, from Shafika, which is an interesting one. It says, with certain positions being advertised, it seems that you require degrees, diplomas, bachelors, etc., even for administrative positions. How does one not feel left behind? And I found that very interesting, because I had a job spec the other day, and one of the requirements is that you had a qualification, and it was for administration.
Yes. So when I started the presentation, I said some of us are in the office professional space because of the circumstances, but some of us, we are passionate about it. We want to build a career in it, right? So if you want to build a career in it, that's when then you have to set your goals in terms of the direction that you want to take, right? And in the direction that you want to take, you will see that as you move to different levels, what will be then the requirements for you to be able to fit in those levels. So then you start preparing yourself for those. So if they require a master's degree, for example, for an executive assistant, and you have a bachelor's degree, then you will know that, okay, in 5 years, I should make sure that I've achieved my master's degree. Then I can be able to become an executive assistant. So the best thing is that you prepare yourself in planning ahead, that then you follow your plan in terms of development.
Yeah, thank you, Tholo, for that. Shafika, I hope that answered you a bit. And, I'd like to add on to that a little bit as well. If you don't have a qualification and you feel like you've been left behind, I would go full on into things like AI and get AI certifications and make yourself that a little bit more powerful as well. I
Yeah.
can have a degree, but that doesn't mean I'm good. I'm not an AI champion. I like that word, AI champion. It
Yeah.
means that you might not have a degree, but that you have kept up with the times. You know how to use AI. You know how to put in processes. You know what software is out there. Build yourself up expertise in an area that is going to be very relevant in the future. I don't know how you guys feel about that, Tholo. I don't know if that makes sense to you as well.
No, it really does make sense, because also we have to understand that when they put those requirements, there's a specific reason they do that, because now you see that our profession is moving more to be a business partner as well, that when you are there, they can be able to trust you with certain roles. You know, that, for example, if your CEO is not in the office, you can be able to have a data and be able to analyze it and know how to interpret it and then, you know, process it. So then that's why requirements will be different for different rules.
But you know, if you can't go for a qualification, you don't even build your expertise up in data analytics. That's another big one. That's for the future.
That's
and
true.
You know, if I can just add in something as well, what I particularly find is that we kind of sit. There's so many of us out there listen to people talk, and we sit in a job, and we're trying to hold on to what we currently have. It's changing, guys, and you need to start changing with it. You can't stay as you are. And I always like to use the example of when you go to school. If Standard 8 was the best year you've had at school, you don't come to the end of Standard 8 and say to the principal and the teachers, okay, let's change the curriculum, let's change the way we do things, because I really enjoy being in Standard 8. So let's change Standard 8 so that I don't have to move out. They don't do that. They say, right, you finished Standard 8, move to that. You've accomplished everything you can here, move to the next level. And I think that's where we become adults and we get into a job and we reach a level and we stay there. And instead of moving forward and learning new things, we just sit there and say, well, let's change, let everybody change around us to suit us, rather than us growing and moving forward. I found that a lot in the workplace, and that's quite frustrating.
Yeah, it is. And you know, adding to what you're saying also, Dee, is that we have to be aware of how also specializing in a certain field also helps to make you an expert in that field. For example, if you work in the banking industry, you know, as an office professional, have an area that you know that it's a critical area that is needed in the banking industry, whether it's financial management or it's technology. And develop yourself in that space, because then you're going to stand out from others, and that's when you're going to be even more marketable, and you'll be known as the go-to person because you've got the expertise in that area.
Absolutely. Get on the train now, especially with AI. Get on the train now, because if you wait in 6 months' time, other people are going to be ahead of you. If you start learning with it now, in 6 months' time, you're an expert. If you know what I mean. But instead, we're all sitting back and waiting for somebody else to do something and say, no, it's not for us. Get on that train now. It's amazing what you can do if you just keep up with what's going on out there. Any other questions? Take a lot from this. Thank you very much. Thank you for the advice. Learning a lot from the seminars. Thank you, speaker. Being an OPSA member also pushes one to do continuous learning. Absolutely. And that is what the key to it all is continuous learning and growing. Absolutely.
Yeah. And that's why we actually have both the professional development masterclass and business administration masterclass. So because you find value in both of them, you know, and looking at where you are and what your needs are, you can check which one you can go to. But we found that other members have actually attended the two, and the feedback is that it has been of value to them because they're able to learn and be able to get back with the kind of tools that are necessary for them to perform better in their different organizations.
Absolutely. Kagelo, you say you should learn AI or programming. No, you don't need to learn programming. Learn what AI tools are out there for you to streamline your processes and things like that. You don't necessarily need to become a programmer. Just learn what's available to you, like the AI assistants, and use them as a collaboration tool to get your work done. And it's amazing what you can get through there.
And also start with your why, right? If you're saying you want to, should you learn AI or programming? Why do you want to learn them, right? If you say programming, it should say why. If you say AI, why? But as Don has said, in general, it's important for us to learn AI and understand how AI works, because in any space, it's going to help you as a tool that will help you to be more efficient and be able to streamline your processes much easier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, I think we've kept you a little bit over time, but from the comments, I can see that it has been valuable. Thank you very much, Tholo.
Gaugelo, Mama Bolo raised the hand. I'm not sure if Gaugelo wants to go on to ask a question, maybe.
Okay, Gaugelo.
Afternoon. Thank you for the acknowledgement. I wanted to ask, oftentimes I hear us saying, oh, we need to study AI or so and such, and what is relevant today, so and such. I don't know. Whenever I think AI, I often think software development, programming, IT related things. So I don't know, do you mean we should get such, like software engineering kind of things, programming, or are you talking about like administrative AI technology, like, how to write minutes using AI, how to record meetings and transcribe, if I can get a bit of specifics.
Tholo, can I just jump in there? Gaugelo,
Yes.
you're coming on a professional designation masterclass in May.
Pardon?
You're coming on a professional designation masterclass with me in May.
Yes, I am.
Okay, we do a whole day on AI and the administrative professional, and that should answer then all your questions.
All right. See you then.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Okay.
it will be helpful for.
Okay, if there's no questions, I know we've gone over time. I see people are starting to drop off. Thank you to those who've stayed behind and for joining us. Our next one is on the 14th of May, and it will be Melanie Cake, our Administrative Excellence winner for 2024. And then again on the 21st of May, we have Nomvula back again for Cultural Intelligence. So please go and register for the webinars, and we'll see you then. And thank you for joining us today. Have a great week.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day.